start to move into senior school. And what we do is what's called a rite of passage. Now, the Year 10's undertaken this now for about 3 or 4 years. And for those who've never heard the term before, ultimately a rite of passage is a ceremony that marks a transition of a person's life into adulthood. Many cultures around the world look at a rite of passage as a transition point into the next stage of their life, into their adult life. And in Year 10, we look at doing a rite of passage that looks at our transition from junior school into senior school. These rite of passages look at a challenge that involves an individual, okay, or a community-based challenge for them to try and overcome as they move into adulthood. Now, the link for us is that we have grade 9 camp at the end of term 4. The purpose of this is to set the scene for that challenge and start to build some resilience within our students. We've looked at growth mindset already throughout the term. And then as we move through the rest of this term, we're going to look at the code of values of courage, endurance, mateship, and sacrifice as our camp is our camp promoter. And we're going to use these values to shape our camp and then moving forward into rite of passage. Why we're all here tonight is we want to know about subject selection. What do I need to do for my student, or what do I need to be aware of so that my student achieves the best possible results for them? How can I make sure that we establish and produce a learning environment in order for them to achieve the outcomes thereafter? So this is for our subject selection. So as part of your course study, every student is required to take 2 semesters of English and Maths. For example, when you are doing your subject selection, you must choose English and Maths. Okay, it's a really simple one. There's no tricks to it. It is English or Maths. There are a couple of different options with Maths, which I'll get to shortly. They will then also have 1 semester of history, HPE, and the science. Okay, these are core studies that students will undertake for 1 semester. That semester could be in the first or the second semester. It will totally end up on their particular timetable, but ultimately they will undertake it. These are the core subjects in which grade 10s next year will undertake. So you'll see on the left-hand side our English, and then we have our Maths. You'll notice on the, hopefully, your student brought home with you on Monday. If they didn't, don't worry, I've played spares. One of these fantastic looking documents, okay, which is your subject selection form. On it you will see English. There is only 1 English box, okay, you'll all see that. And then Maths, you have Maths or Maths extension. Now you would know if you are in Maths extension, okay, that's a really one that's on a case-by-case basis.
There's currently Maths accelerated.
The electives. Okay, this is, I guess, where now you start to have some choice and autonomy around, as students, what you would like to pick, and the parents and parents about trying to maintain and ultimately guide your student into terms of what do they like to do, what have they had success at. So ultimately, the electives are offered over 1 or 2 semesters, depending on what the elective is, and I'll go more into that shortly. Students are encouraged to select subjects which they enjoy and have had previous success. We've all been a student, okay? We all know what it's like when you're studying something you don't necessarily enjoy, okay? The lack of engagement isn't necessarily all there. So we want to do something that they're going to engage in. The more you engage in, the more you're going to want to do. Finally, really important, so the elective offerings are determined by the number of students choosing to study of the elective, and therefore at the availability of the staff and resources. The school reserves the right to cancel electives should it not prove to be a viable elective due to the unavailability of specialist teachers or facilities or a lack of student demand. Ultimately, we're not going to fill a class of tuition. Okay, or if we haven't got a particular teacher to do it, unfortunately, it's just not. All of the options that are here, we are obviously going to try and fill all of these options, but at the end of the day, depending on what the students select, we'll go through this process, but it's just important that you're all aware that sometimes we may not necessarily get our number 1 or our number 5 choice, okay, because the class itself isn't going ahead. Now, to explain this, I guess I can go off what I know for those who haven't probably figured it out already. I'm a HPE teacher, so projection points isn't too much of a scary issue to me. I just want to talk through, I guess, like how an elective works, how does it all sort of fit, if I do this, do I have to do it? And I can talk to the HPE one because I know the best. So far our students, okay, have made their way up to grade 9. They all have to do HBA. Okay, as I mentioned there, it's a core study. As I've already mentioned, year 10, they also have 1 semester of core HBA. Okay, so they all are required to do that. The additional extras that sit in this box here, health preparation, physical education, and fitness and recreation preparation, are all electives. They can choose to do all 3 if they want to. They can choose to do 2, 1, or none. The choice is totally up to the student. They all do HBE. Okay, so it's not a case of I like to do PE prep, but I don't want to do 10 HBE. But you can choose as one of your 5 electives any of those options. You might fill 3 of your 5 electives out of these 3 here. Okay, they go for just a semester, and as I mentioned, you'll have 5 that you would choose. You'll see above them that there's a direct line between, for example, here, health preparation and health. In PE, you do not have to have done health preparation to do senior health. Is it handy? Yeah, sure it is. But you don't have to have done it. So tonight when you go around and you are talking to some of those subject tables and you see a preparation-based subject, don't be afraid to ask the members of staff, do they have to undertake this if they would like to do it in senior? It's a really important question to ask, okay? Because there are some subjects out there where they would really recommend that they take the prep subject in order for them to undertake these. There are also some subjects out there, for example, fitness and recreation preparation, which is preparing you for 2 different subjects. So over the semester, 2 terms, you do 1 term of one, 1 term of the other. Therefore, students still get a taste of both subjects. They can still, therefore, make an informed decision around the subjects they would like to do. A reminder, you don't have to have done it in year 10, you did it in year 11 and 12. It's obviously useful, but that is a PE scenario. Please feel free to ask questions to the staff down there, and we'll be able to answer them. These are the single semester electives. So all of the electives that are on this list go for 1 semester. The students can choose 5. So you would choose 5 from that chosen list there. It's as simple as you would just tick the appropriate box, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment, okay, that matches with that appropriate box. There are some subjects though that are 2 semester electives. So students who wish to study a language, Netball Academy, Touch Academy, Football Academy, or Academy of Science, will study it over 2 semesters. What that ultimately means is it takes up 2 of your 5 electives. Okay? So if you were to, for example, choose Netball Academy, you would select Netball Academy, which is your HBE line. Okay? We all have to do 1 semester of HBE. And then one of your electives would be Netball Academy semester 2. If you're Japanese or German, the language is an elective, so it would fill 2 of your electives. So that's something very important. The thing with Japanese and German, students must have studied the language in year 9. So that if you're out there now and you're doing Japanese or German and you would like to do it in year 10, you're more than welcome to. But it's not something that people then jump into. Here is an example of how to fill out a subject selection. Okay, I'm going to be providing this to all of our grade 9 students over the coming days, just as a reminder, just to give them a little bit of a hand as well in terms of how they fill this out. And it includes simple things like, how do I select this? I tick with 1 point. Okay, if I've got a science choice, you need to tick one of these boxes.
With science and science foundation, you're looking to study senior science in your level, you should pick the science box. If you are saying, goodness, I only have 1 semester of science left, and I have to do it in year 10, and I don't wish to study science in year 11 and 12, you can choose the science foundation.
So you'll see here, for example, in this highlight area here, you'll see academy, sport, football, academy, sport here. So if I'm a student who is in football, I would select it here, okay, and then I would also select this here. Once that's done, I've locked in my new semester. Okay? elective preference number 3, you'll see all of the subjects are mentioned there, okay, that are available on that particular preference, which is the same for 2, 3, and 4. Okay, all look exactly the same in terms of the subjects that are offered. The only ones that are different, as mentioned, is elective preference 1, where it has our academies. Okay, and then number 5, which also has our 2 languages. But if you would like to do that, that's where you would select that in that big box. Can I please stress the importance? So students will submit this next Monday in their PSC class. Okay, there will be a link, there's information, they'll have it all, okay, in terms of how to submit it. If they're not here on the Monday, they'll still be able to do it from home, they just simply access it through their One School. It is not a first in best dress, it's not a race, it's not a selector sport, okay, it's not a, oh yes, I got in, okay, no, it's a case of making sure that you've gone through and selected the appropriate subjects, so please take your time when you are completing it. In addition to that, it will ask you for 2 backup subjects. So on your piece of paper, you will put it in here. On your online One School form, there is a drop-down box for you to select those options. When you are selecting your backup options, please don't select German semester 2. Please don't select Football Academy semester 2, because it's an all-in or it's an all-out sort of situation. Additionally, all these forms are returned and most importantly signed by a parent or guardian. We collect all of these, and so when the subjects come out, the idea is that Miss Miller and myself don't receive a phone call and say, what in goodness gracious is my student doing selecting German? I didn't agree to this. And then we have a piece of paper that says, well, here's this. Okay, so please make sure you check with your student that it is agreed upon around what the subjects are. Okay, we don't want any surprise. Okay, this is where there's a lot of us, but has anyone got any questions relating to subject selection at all? Yes.